Farmer Tom here. Today on the Farmer Tom Cast, on our ongoing series Heroes of the Green, we have Lori Duckworth, a legendary cannabis advocate from Southern Oregon. Hi, Lori. How's it going today?
Good, Tom. Thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
You've done so much for the community. How could I pass you up? You know, this is all about my heroes, and definitely you're one of them. You tell the world who Lori Duckworth is and all the accomplishments she's made in the world of cannabis.
Well, Lori Duckworth now is a very different Lori Duckworth that started out several decades ago in the little world of cannabis that is now a huge world of cannabis, most especially in Oregon. When the Oregon medical marijuana program first started several decades ago, I was married and in geriatric nursing, had a nursing license, had 4 kids, and 3 of them were preteens and a toddler. And my husband at the time was prescribed Oxycontin. And that was, the new non-addictive pain medication. I was treating patients at the time in the nursing field, geriatric patients, for pain. And I quickly, through my patients and through my husband, saw that this drug was very dangerous, very addictive, and really took the quality of life away from many, many people, including him. I begged him to try to use cannabis, not on a recreational means, but on a regimented means of medication. He did that. He got off of the Oxycontin within about 8 months, thank goodness, and didn't ever take Oxycontin again. Over the years, he had 2 back surgeries and never again took Oxycontin. Over my nursing career, I started advocating for the patients to use medical cannabis and helping their families to get them on the Oregon medical marijuana program. And I had to do that silently as a nurse because corporations that own my facilities didn't want to talk about cannabis. Doctors back then in the 90s didn't want to talk about cannabis. And because that took money out of their pockets when they weren't pushing pharmaceuticals. And it led me down a road of teetering on my morals, not supporting pharmaceutical companies, which didn't get you very far in the nursing career. So I left nursing at 24 years and 10 months to pursue cannabis activism on a full-time scale. When I did that, I opened Southern Oregon NORML and became the executive director and opened a facility right next door to the federal courthouse in Medford, Oregon. What a tough place to try to educate people about cannabis, about the Oregon medical marijuana program. But I had a lot of like-minded folks that felt like I did. Because of my work in the nursing profession, I had met a lot of very influential people in Southern Oregon. Those people had a lot of money. I used my connections that I'd made through nursing to help me to build a very reputable community center. And in that community center, we had a library, we had a grow room that had cards. It was an amazing thing. The Oregon medical marijuana program, before we had a dispensary bill, had very gray areas, like a lot of medical marijuana programs did and still do. So we were able to have a legal grow room within our facility, and we were able to give away cannabis to legal patients. In the middle of all that, Cynthia Willis, another activist from Southern Oregon, sued the sheriff of our county because he denied all of us that applied for concealed handgun license our right to carry a weapon because we were medical marijuana card holders. Well, thanks to Lee Berger and several other attorneys, that case went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they found in favor of Cynthia Willis and the rest of us. We were able to then have our concealed handgun license. Well, Sheriff Winters didn't like that very much because of the kind of sheriff that he was. So he started an investigation against SONORML. And then in the interim of that, 2 of the sheriffs under his command, family members, started a daycare less than a block from our facility. So as I was advocating and we're helping to shape the laws in Oregon, that straight as a crow flies 500 feet then came into play with our facility because we were helping patients with medicine. So for 2.5 years under Operation Storefront, they investigated our facility, the Human Collective in Tigard, Oregon, and the 45th Parallel in Ontario, Oregon. The facility in Ontario was rated first on 9/11/12. The Human Collective was rated second in November of 2012. And then we were rated at Southern Oregon NORML on May 23rd, 2013, 10 days before the governor signed House Bill 3460, our dispensary bill. All three of the facilities that I just named were the model facilities for 3460. We were the last facilities that will be prosecuted under the old cannabis laws. They, excuse me, it's a little emotional because it was very, very detrimental to our families, all of the families involved, and the community. We helped over 3,000 people in the first 3 years we were in existence with medication for free. Farmers came out of the hills in the 4 years that we were there that never talked to people about what they did because they were afraid. And that was one of the nice things with our relationships with all the farmers down in those communities. They were fourth and fifth generation farmers. They put resources back into the community, money into the grow shops. Their livelihoods depended on those crops, still do. They wanted it legal. They would pay their taxes gladly, but they didn't want to go to jail. Being locked in a cage was wrong. We had farmers that didn't just give us cannabis, they gave us their vegetables because they knew people in the inner city didn't have those means. I know you share your vegetables. I know that my husband at the time, Lee, and I grew our garden 10 times its size so we could take vegetables to the people in the city. That's what cannabis people do. We share everything we have, and that's what we did as well. We educated children about what medicine really looked like. I was speaking at city hall meetings. I was speaking in Salem. I formed a team called Radical and worked with other safe access points like the Greenery. Chelsea Hopkins was one of my early team members for Radical. And what that stood for would raid awareness data, information collecting against law enforcement. So our community there was so tight that when a raid started happening with DEA and the feds, I'd get a phone call, or somebody'd get a phone call and I'd get a phone call. And we had a phone tree together. And most of the time we were on site before all of law enforcement was all there. People would see them staging in areas out in Applegate. They'd see them staging in Gold Hill. They'd call us. We knew what raids were looking like before they'd even get on site. I immediately would call the media. I was on a first name, intimate phone list with all of the media. They appreciated that we were educating people right. And we were educating patients what was right and wrong for their growers to keep too, because so often patients were being taken advantage of. They were being taken advantage of and only getting 1.5 pounds a year, when we all know Southern Oregon growers know how to grow. They were yielding much more than that from 6 plants. And we know that growers wanted a safe place to take their overage so they weren't out of compliance. That's why we wrote 3460, the dispensary bill, the way we did. But after Measure 91, our legislators changed 91 and imposed many erroneous fees on the medical growers. That's not how it was supposed to be. If we medical people would have known that, if we knew that they were going to change Anthony Johnson's words, we would not have supported 91. Because now what's happened with legalization, the big corporations have came in, just like we knew they would if they didn't stick to the original wording. It's what's happened in all the other states. And it's very sad that a program that had 85,000 registrants now has less than 25,000. We were the most solid medical program in the entire country. Dana Rohrabacher told me that himself when I met with him in LA after our raid, with the exception of when we wrote our program, we did not put in a dispensary bill. We had no way to get the medicine to the people that was regulated, but we had the best program. What would I do now? I would invest in those of us that have been with the program for a long time. I would invest in the people that were the true people out there making the decisions. I wouldn't let the legislators do it because we know that they don't make the best decisions. Those of us that have gotten our hands dirty, those of us that have made new strains, the people that know, not the people that pretend to know, the people that know. We did move from Portland. We ran Delta 9 House. Portland's first, as far as we know, cannabis friendly Airbnb. That was great. We did that for about 3 years, from 2016 to 2019 together. That was a lot of fun. We met incredible people from all over the world. I can't say how fun that 3 years was. We made the decision to move over to Eastern Oregon, and we were co-owners in a dispensary for a couple of years over here. We sold that, and we have been, then we moved. Well, we help with overturning the ban in Ontario for dispensaries. You're welcome, Ontario. You're making about $10 million a month over there, and you're very, very welcome. And then with that, after that, we hopped over to Nampa, Idaho, and we're here for about a year. We're just kind of taking a year off, and we've actually officially retired from cannabis activism. I think the last 3 years over here working on the medical initiative in Idaho. And all of our efforts here has just really been the icing on the cake for both of us. We both got a couple decades into activism, and for myself, becoming a felon and being locked in a cage for 8 days is very traumatic. My felony was expunged after 3 years, and so I'm no longer a felon.